All set. Well, hello everyone. It is very nice to hear the happy voices here in the chambers and see my colleagues, despite the fact that by the end of our meeting tonight we might have 6 inches of snow on the ground. Everyone's still in good spirits. It's amazing. We are a resilient bunch. So I am going to call to order the Kalamazoo City Commission Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, March 16th, 2026. And our first order of business is roll call. Clerk Borling.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Commissioner Slaby. Commissioner Wilson. Present. Vice Mayor Duncan. Mayor Anderson.
Here. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Slaby and Vice Mayor Duncan from the Committee of the Whole meeting?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradle. Is there support? Okay, no support. Motion fails. On to communications. Any communications?
No, Mayor, not at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Now is the opportunity for public comments for the Committee of the Whole meeting. Just a reminder that our public comment time period for these meetings is 2 minutes. There's also a public comment time available at our business meeting that starts at 7, and that time is 4 minutes. So if you'd like to take advantage of public comment, you have 2 minutes. Please come forward, state your name, and whether you live in the city.
Edward Nickerson, live in the city of Kalamazoo. I would just like to say that I know that they're trying to pass something for bow hunting for deers to thin out the population in the city of Kalamazoo. I would say it's a good suggestion because I had many close calls with deers this year. I also had one smack into the front of my car down on Park Street by the ponds over there. I just say put some tight restrictions on how they can shoot their arrows into the deers. That way, no arrows are going into people because we're more heavily populated around here. That's all I have to say about that. I was downstairs the other day at the treasurer's window, and I asked the lady if I could get the name to the people that own Northwind Apartments. And she kind of got cocky with me, and I had to persist that she give me the proper name. And she didn't want to do it, but she did end up doing it. You need to tell them not to play games with the public.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rebecca Bergman, AKA Tyrannosaurus Bex, and I love the city of Kalamazoo. I once had a pastor tell me, I don't know what to make of you, and I get that a lot. You can think of me as a court jester, community organizer, lived experience expert, bridge builder, and unconventional diplomat. I'm working to connect institutions, churches, and government to one another to meet the needs of the broader community. My work is deeply relational. I love that we have a community where the grandson of one of our most outspoken advocates can run right up to the vice mayor and give him a hug. I appreciate getting to know y'all. I'm trying right now to imagine Mayor Anderson as a long-haired hippie man. He shared Saturday that he spent some of his younger years in communes. Knowing that, I think you'll be excited to work with me on a collective care initiative that's in the pipeline. Where the federal government seeks to rearrange the playing field, we need to be thinking about how we can reshape our local landscape for resilience. A solid foundation for change is built on trust. Some of you might have seen me at the retreat on Saturday on the floor in my socks, openly stimming and cuddling with my boy. I'm someone who breaks the unwritten rules on purpose, because we should not abide by the norms of a society that shoves people to the margins when they can't conform. I believe in radical honesty and being able to show up as yourself. What does inclusion look like in practice? How do we embrace diverse perspectives?
I'm sorry, your 2 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you. And the boy, please.
Yep, put it down.
Good evening. My name is Jude Watkins, and I love the city of Kalamazoo. I've been learning about how our city government works, and it's made me think about something important. Kids and teenagers live in the city too, but most of the time we don't really know what's going on here or how decisions are made. So I had an idea. What if groups of kids and teens could be paired with each commissioner, the mayor, and the vice mayor to learn how city government works? The commissioner could explain what issues the city is working on, what problems the people are trying to solve, and what decisions are coming up. The kids could ask questions, share ideas, and learn how to participate in public meetings. It would help prepare young people to speak during public comment and be involved in our community. Churches and community organizations could help with rides and support so more kids can participate. College students could also help the city manager by doing his research, data entry, and other work while earning college credit. Kids like me have to survive in the future. That's being shaped for us. Will you help us have a voice? I'd love to meet with you to discuss this further. Please contact my mom to schedule a meeting. Thank you for listening to my idea.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers that would like to take advantage of this public comment period? Seeing no one, thank you so much to those of you who made sure to come down here and provide us with public comments and prepared for those. Next, we are down really, I think, Manager Hankins, to the work of this committee of the whole, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a presentation for you this evening. There are project-level incentive approvals that we suspect will be coming before this commission in April, and we wanted to give you an opportunity to hear from us on those types of projects and ask your questions before you start to see them. So Jamie McCarthy is here, our development manager, and she'll walk you through the presentation.
Welcome, Jamie McCarthy.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Sorry, Mayor and Commissioners, and thank you for your time this evening. I'm also going to be joined by representatives from the project. We have Jamari Bogan here with us and also Michelle Audette Bauman, and I'm going to invite them up here in just a moment to give you some background about this project. To get us started here, I want to show you some familiar slides just to set up what we're going to be talking about this evening. You're used to seeing our development toolkit, and so you're going to be seeing three familiar tools that we often access out of our toolkit. So we're going to be talking about tax abatements, we're going to be talking about TIF, and we're going to be talking about loan funds. Well, I'm going to have I think we're going to start with Michelle here, or we're going to have Jamari join us as well, and they're going to be talking to you about the project. So I want to give you some background on that, and then we'll talk then about some of the familiar metrics that you're used to hearing about.
You going this way?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, commissioners.
Mr. Bogan, good to see you.
Good to see you all. I'm here today to talk about the Beyond Burdick, a really exciting project that we're working on here in the city of Kalamazoo, adjacent to our largest employer here in our region, Bronson Hospital. Here's a little bit of background on our project, on our development team here at Bogan Developments. I've been now in the development business now for 6 years, so long time, but really been doing some great work here in the community. And Michelle has joined our team this last year in October and has really taken us to the next level. And she's here joining me as our vice president. But today we're here to talk about, of course, the Beyond Burdick. And I always like to start with the context of the project. In 2016, Bronson Hospital partnered with our local community college here to launch what they call the Healthy Living Campus. And that created the Food Innovation Center, the Maryland Schlack Center, which has nursing programs, has their culinary school, and all that great things that have catalyzed that campus. We know the city has also invested in the new you guys just built the new farmers market right there on that campus now. The Boys and Girls Club is now doing their new center there on that campus. So the campus has grown. The next phase of that was Bronson now looking at this area called Block M, which is here in the rectangle in red, and looking at it to create a new housing project that would service their workforce. And today, that project here is a mixed-use, mixed-income development with 85 residential units, 18 studios, 48 one-bedrooms, 19 two-bedrooms. We have really 3 other really cool elements in this project, which are a grocery store, early childhood education element, and we also have a fitness studio for folks, because we really wanted to focus on everything that incorporates healthy living and the social determinants of health. Of course, one is housing, but the other ones, of course, are food and education. So we had a lot of those buckets in this project. And we also have a community third space, which we're really excited to continue to develop, that will be able to have people come in, both private and our residents, our private and public, come in and share coffee and a moment together here in our community. So you guys are probably wondering, well, Jamari, this is a great project. It sounds like you guys got some great partners. So why do you need these benefits? Development costs and costs continue to rise, and that becomes a challenge for us. And so we're always trying to figure out, how do we raise capital from both the public, private, and also the philanthropic realm. But also these benefits, like your neighborhood enterprise zone and TIF, help bring a great deal of revenue to the project. We also have constricted our revenue on this project because it's not a pure market rate deal. So if we would have built this deal to have all our units above 120% of AMI, we probably wouldn't have needed these benefits. But the heart of the project is to serve the workforce of Bronson and to serve our workforce here in our community. So most of our units are below 120% of AMI. We have our chart here, which displays that 85% of our units are below 100% of AMI. I think this is also really important for folks to understand that you can build the same building in other areas and get higher rents, right? And so our construction costs are still our construction costs, but our rents sometimes do have a challenge here. So this is another reason why we need that. And whenever you're building on urban lots, there's always earth challenges. So as you are aware, there's suitability and environmental contamination that follows all these sites. And so we have to put in geopiers for our building just to make sure it stands up, and then we have to clean up some of the dirt on site. So all that goes into making these deals happen, but lead us to asking for a neighborhood enterprise zone, tax increment financing, and the loan that we're requesting so that we can make this deal happen. And we hope that you guys support it, but we're here to answer any of your questions. I hope that was helpful for you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Bogan.
All right. So I'm going to continue on with some of those metrics that you're used to seeing and give you an overview and then make sure that we can answer any of your questions. And really the purpose tonight, you don't have any action items currently on your agenda, but as was mentioned, these are going to be coming up, especially in April and in the coming months. I know this project is really looking to get in the ground this year, and so they're really lining up a lot of these incentives, and we wanted to be able to bring these forward for you and then give you an opportunity to ask any of your questions so that as these appear on your agenda, you can feel like you have some of this information already answered for you. So I think a lot of this was already brought up, but I just wanted to give you some of the city's perspective and really talk about how we bring these into the city, how we evaluate, and how we really look at what does this public participation look like. I think Mr. Bogan did a really nice job of talking about how this project has come together, how it's 2 acres in the Vine neighborhood. A lot of these parcels, they've been assembling, they've been working closely with Bronson Hospital as a partner. These are a lot of vacant, empty lots. They were some boarded up houses. They're really an underutilized area of this block that has this great opportunity for transformation. And so where there's a really great opportunity for this particular redevelopment to meet some of our housing goals. You know, we're looking for more of those units across the city, and then we're especially interested in seeing that affordability in some of those units. So you can see that 17 of those units are going to be offered at that, you know, they're targeting that 80% of AMI and even being able to reach into some of those units at that 60% of area median income. And I think beyond that, we're also excited about looking at some of the jobs that will be created. So we're looking at what we think will be somewhere around that 40 new permanent jobs, and then during the construction phase, somewhere around the 250 temporary jobs. That will go along with some of those new commercial space in the ground floor, which is really exciting. We don't always get to see the mixed use. As you know, that the commercial space has not always been something that all of these projects have been able to offer in more recent years. I wanted to talk a little bit more about what the incentive request specifically is looking like. We, this week, are going to be hosting at the Brownfield meeting, we'll talk about this in a moment, but hosting the public hearing. And so we have a draft Brownfield plan that's coming forward to that authority, and that request is looking like a $5 million tax increment financing plan. That's broken down as about $1.8 million in gap financing, so that's the cost to reduce those rents down to that workforce and affordable housing, those 80 to 60% AMI units. And then the rest of that, just over $3 million, $3.2 million are those hard costs. So those are those traditional brownfield activities on that site. So dealing with the conditions that are on the site now. So that's split up between some of the demolition that has to happen on the site, some of the abatement, the lead and asbestos abatement. It's a significant amount of infrastructure improvements that are going to be brought into the site to make the new development possible, and some of the site preparation that goes into the site. And I wanted to point out that there will be ongoing reporting that this project, as all brownfield projects have to do, so this is not just a one-time plan and you get this money for 25 plus years. As a brownfield developer or brownfield plan, brownfield partners, those developers partner with us every year. They provide us with annual brownfield reports, and so there is ongoing administrative costs. And so the city and the Brownfield Authority does collect a fee every year out of this just to cover that cost. So these plans do cover themselves over time. And then I wanted to point out, too, the increase in tax base. And we're going to talk about this in a couple of slides in more detail. But prior to construction, if you look at the current tax base or taxable value on what was 12 parcels are going to be combined into one parcel. But the value here is around $448,550. We see a significant increase in tax base in the value that's built from this new development. So right after construction, right around 1 to 2 years after construction, the value of this new development rises to over $4 million, and at the end of the brownfield plans, the end of 30 years, the value is over $7 million is what we're projecting. I just want to mention the NEZ tax abatement. We don't have all of that information yet. We don't have an application right now, but we're expecting that to be coming in and coming forward to you very soon. But at your last meeting, you approved the district, so that was step one, getting that set up. So that was already created. That tax incentive is granted by the local unit of a government, but if you recall, that's enabled by a state law. And that is actually a reduction in taxes over the certificate period. And right now, we anticipate, and the way we evaluated it was assuming that they would be seeking the maximum 15-year abatement. And right now, we would estimate in the way that it was evaluated that that's right around a $2 million value. And then we're also evaluating this one for a housing development fund, or HDF loan. This is long-term, low-cost debt, so it is repaid over a longer period of time. And this one also requires affordability as well. So this is where some of those 60% area median income household units comes into play that's typically required for the Housing Development Fund loans. All right. So getting into really some of that evaluation that happens when projects come forward to the city, what are we looking at in order to offer public support for these types of projects? And one of the things I really wanted to tie this project back to in particular are some of those public benefits, right? So, we have this underutilized property right now. What is the public gaining right away from having a redevelopment project like this coming into the neighborhood? And so I wanted to point out some of the housing plans that we have, and in particular, the report that Upjohn did for the county most recently, calling for over 8,000, the need for over 8,000 new units, but thinking that low and mid-rise apartments could fill the need for about 1,200 units, and so this one being able to fill 85 of those 1,200 units that are needed. And just the benefit of what the investment of $41 million into the neighborhood would look like, and that really important partnership with what Bronson Hospital has been doing with this campus and growing this campus, and this key piece that they're continuing to invest in. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time on this slide. This is a little bit newer than the last time that we came up here. I just wanted to point out one of the other ways that we evaluate the need for incentives. We certainly do a pro forma review, and we don't, we take in a lot of documents, and we don't simply, kind of take their word for it. We have independent third-party review, so this is a consultant who also takes a look at these financial documents. They take a look at their budgets. They take a look at the construction documents that they provide, and they give us an opinion on the reasonableness of all of these documents. I gave just an example here of kind of what does project financing look like. This is very simplified, but how do we decide if public incentive is justified? So the example here is a total project cost to build is $28 million, and those are, those documents, those budgets, that project documentation is reasonable judged reasonable by third-party review. The project private financing, so that's typically, senior debt, it's probably owner equity, owners putting in money. Maybe that's making up $24 million. And we see that there is a $4 million gap in that project. So we know, based on third-party review, that there is a gap, that the market is not able to fund this project without some type of additional public participation. That's where we step in and say, it seems reasonable that we need to have some sort of public participation in this project. We've looked at some of those public goals, some of the things that we're getting out of the deal as well, or out of this project as well. I will say also, we definitely look more favorably upon projects that are looking to diversify. They're looking for multiple participants in a project. So a project like this, for instance, is also looking at state participation. They're looking at other grants, other philanthropic participants. So the city is not the only one coming to the table and providing dollars. And then also for projects where they're looking for a loan, we do underwriting with our third party as well. So they're just taking a look at and understanding, you know, the cash flow being generated, those rents that are coming into the deal, coming into the project. Is that enough to cover all of the debts that the project has to pay and has some operating income that will make the project sustainable as well? Can they pay back the loan that they're asking for? And so as that all checks out, then we're able to bring a project forward and say, yes, it passes our but-for test. But for putting in this public money, we would not see this project happening in our community. And it helps us kind of build that whole story and really justify, does this project need the public participation? And then also, what are those public and community benefits? Is this something that really matches up with what our community needs? This last table, if you want to take a look at it, this is something else we wanted to try to bring forward to you all as you take a look at these projects. This gives you a sense of if this project were never to happen. So this is your columns on the left. These are the taxes that are currently being generated by those 12 parcels with the current land uses on them right now. Most of them are vacant. A few of them have unoccupied buildings or businesses. And then the columns on the right are showing you what happens if the development does happen. We know it needs some public incentive, though, so you're going to have to give up some of that tax base, those tax dollars for the 1 to 30-year period. We know it needs brownfield. We know it needs any Z abatement, so we factored those dollars out. And then we also, you see the column for years 31 through 35. You start getting past your break-even point and you start generating a significant amount of taxes after that point. So it gives you a sense of, if you make this decision, sort of where does the public really start to gain in taxes generated if you were to kind of do nothing as that base case or you support this project. And so, you see the pink highlight there just because that middle row gives you just the city mills. That 13.8 mills is what comes right into the city coffers, if you will. The top line is all of the different jurisdictions that collect taxes across a property like this. The very bottom is school debt. So those, brownfield, some others don't capture, so those just kind of pass right through. They pay off a lot of the school debt millages that are paying for different new school buildings and such. So the school debt millages do really well in these situations. You can see that they're continuing to collect here in that year 1 through 30 in the right columns, over 1.2 million the whole way through, over 1.6 million the entire time. So they benefit through all of the tax years, especially with the development. But I think that the take home here is very little tax dollars are given up in 1 through 30, years 1 through 30 with development, including all of these abatements. And some really significant tax gains are made by year 35. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to look through that analysis and certainly happen to answer any questions. I know that's kind of a lot to take in, but you can kind of see the difference between kind of what's given up, but certainly what's gained in those two scenarios. All right. I'm going to talk about timeline, but then I'm going to just open it up for some questions, and I invite our development team here, the project team here, to join me for any questions. As far as timelines, as I mentioned, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority is holding a public hearing this week on that Brownfield plan, and they'll be bringing a recommendation, voting to bring a recommendation forward to you all. And I plan to have that on your April 6th agenda. And so you'll be able to then take action on that coming up here in April. And I wanted to point out that then reimbursement starts after the project is complete. So developer has to then build out a project before that incentive really takes place or is realized. That capture request has to be initiated by the developer, and they still have to get all of their requests approved by the Brownfield Board. That comes back to a public body, and they have that annual reporting requirement. So this still, it isn't just kind of a one and done process. They still have a lot of public engagement and interaction, and I would say accountability. They're so definitely a partner that continues to work with that Brownfield Redevelopment Authority over the years as they continue to get that tax incentive year after year, or that tax, that TIF year after year. The NEZ is on a similar, I would imagine is going to be on a similar schedule once we get that certificate request. We'll be putting that on the agenda, so I would expect that to happen in April. And then it has a very similar, follows a very similar path. It's a tax reduction that happens only after a project is complete. There are some back and forth with the state as well, and then the tax reduction goes into effect for the years of that certificate. There's some reporting that we do up to the State Tax Commission as well. And then the HDF loan, I think, would follow right after this. So we're really trying to get this through to your agenda as quickly as possible, and make sure this project can follow through with their groundbreaking plans. I think that's my last slide, even though oh, there it goes. I will open it up for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCarthy. Questions, Commission? Commissioner Hess.
Sure. When is that groundbreaking planned? Mr. Bogan, thank you for being here, and thank you for investing and staying and being a wonderful person in Kalamazoo.
Thank you so much for your kind words. This summer, that's our goal, is to get it out of the ground this summer.
I have a few other questions for you as well. Do we know that we talked about the level of abatement on the site? Do you know the level of abatement that's necessary for the site before you actually begin construction, or have you already done that testing?
We have done testing. Our team has. I can't give you specifics on that right now, but there are naturally site challenges in any urban context in this city. So there's always a need for some kind of cut, bringing in new fill, and of course, kind of always struggling with, what's here beneath the subsurface. Can it actually support a 5-story building? And so there's mechanisms that we have to do to make sure that our building can stay up for 200 years.
And I think we heard it before, but refresh us, that Bronson employees will be given priority, or is there a certain percentage of units that would go to Bronson employees? But can you help me there? Yeah,
so our state housing authority, Michigan, created a pilot program for $10 million to target employers who were looking to get into the housing space. And so that employer had to contribute land or cash equity into the deal, and Michigan matched it. And so the value of our land was matched by a $2 million grant from our state. And through that grant, 20 employees from Bronson will be priority, and all 20 of those employees will make below 120% of AMI, and that for a single person is sub 80,000.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And lastly, so I know that you're across the street there from, is it Second Baptist Church, Pastor Bell?
Yeah.
And are you planning to work with them at all and work with, like, making sure that their congregation feels supported during this disruption of construction?
Yes, that'll be one of our high priorities, and we will be checking in with Pastor Bell and making sure that our project is not becoming a hindrance to his congregation.
Thank you. Commissioner Hess, other questions? Commissioners? Commissioner Bradel?
Hey, Jamari, thanks for being here. Had a question for you as well. Just wanted to make sure to clarify. I saw the price tag for the entire project, 41 million. The financing, as you described, Jamie, was for 24 million, and then the 4 million extra gap.
That was just an example.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, but I think part of it, though, was that there was the money from the state and then the money from Kalamazoo County that's making up that difference, maybe? Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. So as it stands today, and I'm sure you guys probably can see it within your package, there's we like to look at it internally in our organization as, we have public, private, and philanthropic partners. So we have just about everybody in the transaction, from MISTA to some other state partners we're working with right now, to our community foundation.
Yeah.
So it's a blend of everyone who are truly concerned about changing the conditions here in our community.
Yeah. I really appreciate with a number of your projects, but this one as well, the focus on early childhood education. It's a critical need in our community right now. Can't get enough. I mean, you look at I know a number of parents who are in just these extraordinarily long waiting lists. I see how stressful it is for them to try to figure out their needs, and especially, like you say, being close to one of our largest employers, that is huge.
Absolutely.
I noticed on the presentation as well, we talked about creation of 40 jobs, permanent jobs. And I'm assuming with most of that, it's probably talking about the commercial spaces down and on the floor level. So it would be like the daycare or the child care facility, the grocer, those sort of things would make up those 40 jobs predominantly.
Yeah, I think, there'll be child care, so we'll probably have around 10 there. Grocery probably have another 10. Mm-hmm. And then our gym probably has probably another, 5 to 10 there as well. But we also have internal staff that'll be on site. So that gets you to kind of that higher number there. But yeah, we're excited about that opportunity to create jobs that actually pay people well so they can live a good life here in our community.
Sure. And then just curious if you could share a little bit more about that third space concept and like what need that fills, and yeah, just curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, so I get really excited about it. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but really, being someone who's been here and is a young professional, I would say I yearn for somewhere to go to hang out with friends, whether it be coffee or, adult beverage that really captures an energy that kind of we're missing in our community. And so through this project, one of those things is kind of figuring out a way to capture that energy by creating a space that everybody can go to, both our residents and folks in our community, but it's really exciting. So we've been spending a lot of time there, and once we're ready to announce a little bit more, we'll roll it out.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks, Commissioner Pradel. Yes, Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you for being here.
How are you?
As you build this out, I have questions around sustainability and climate readiness. When we think about the rising prices of utilities for renters, what is Bogan Developers doing to have a foothold in that?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So one, I always like to start off with saying that we want to build a building that lasts, so that we're not recycling and using new materials, but what we're building lasts. We will have a green roof on this building, which we're really excited about. Our building will be all electric, so I'm really excited about that. We will have elements of an urban garden on site, so that'll be there for the residents. So a lot of things that kind of capture, healthy living, a healthy building. But really, I kind of always like to tell our team, if we can build something that lasts a long time, we can be really sustainable, because, tearing down a project is really, really costly to our environment, because the raw materials to extract them, is a hindrance on our environment.
And then my last question is around public participation. I know that there were some residents who were a bit passionate about being homeowners in that area. Yes. And how has that been going?
Elite question. It's been going well. We have made it our business it's one of our priorities for our project is to do community engagement. So we've been engaged. And when you get engaged, everyone doesn't always have a positive response. But I think as we continue to develop the project, I think folks have become more excited and curious about where it's going, the elements of it. But change is not always easy, right? So it's going to look a little bit different over there. But I think once we build the building, they'll be proud of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Wilson.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Shamari, for this great presentation. You as well, Jamie. Commissioner Hoffman's question raised a question with me, and I'm wondering if through that engagement, you guys are exploring the option of maybe prioritizing some hiring for some of those commercial properties that you're going to have on property, prioritizing some local hiring there to kind of boost that economy, or?
Yeah, so appreciate that. So our Zone 32 Child Care Center, all of the teachers there are from the neighborhood.
Okay.
So similar partner on that one, on this new one. So it'll be kind of the same heart behind what we do there. We do have a mandate. One of our core values is making sure that we hire local and hire minority and underrepresented contractors. So that's going to be a priority of ours. So we believe in that, and so we're going to get that done.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate all the questions. Any follow-up questions from any commissioners? Thank you. I have a few questions, probably more for you, Jamie. First of all, a statement, and I do appreciate that the city is contracting with an independent third-party entity to evaluate these requests. And I can't not emphasize how important that is, because we are being asked to participate in some substantial way in terms of public funding in these projects. And having someone who has that experience and looking closely at these, I think it's imperative that we do that. So thank you that we're doing that, and that we have a good contractor to help us. Relative to tax revenue, is it the case that over the course of construction, will there be a point where maybe a not completed project still has a higher tax value at the end of a given tax year, which will result in some tax revenue prior to the project opening, and then the NEZ and the various credits on taxes go into place?
Are you asking if there is still some taxes generated during construction period?
Yes. Are there any additional taxes generated by the fact that maybe the value has increased, by the construction, although it's not yet completed, and I don't know fully what the timeline is, but as it crosses tax years?
Yes. Typically, if I'm understanding the question correctly, typically over a construction period, which may be 12, 18 months, a property will be assessed. It's assessed annually, and so it may have a partial assessment, right? It might be 50% complete, and so its taxes would go up partially at a 50% assessment, if that's what you're asking. So
that is what I'm asking,
it would sort of tier up during a construction period. That could happen, yes, unless it were a very, very quick construction period, then it would
Right.
maybe just jump up to 100%.
Right.
But
Got that. And another thing, I'm not sure if we have contemplated this, because it's still somewhat theoretical at this point, but, to Commissioner Hoffman's point, oh man, is it snowing out there? Oh goodness. To Commissioner Hoffman's point, the idea of that, need more deeply affordable housing, but when you look at these projects, and we've gone through it here, costs of construction, cost of financing and so on, how difficult it is to create those very affordable units. Really, excuse me, the only way to create that deep affordability for a tenant is with a voucher. And I know we're talking about some county vouchers now in that plan that they're rolling out. Are we having any conversation? Could a county voucher, for example, be used in a project like this? And of course, we don't know what the county rules will be yet tied to those vouchers, but do we have any conversation about that possibility?
I would love to defer to some of our other housing staff to be able to talk about that program. I'm not as familiar or how that would work into a project or pro forma like this one. I don't know if Mr. Bogan has ever explored that for this project, but I would not feel comfortable.
It wouldn't have to be part of the pro forma. It would be relative to tenant
a tenant
approval,
bringing
right?
bringing that voucher
Exactly.
to this
Yeah, still
project. So
be a rent that was available. So I don't know if we're having any of those discussions, and I know it's preliminary here, but, excuse me again, year and a half maybe until this is open, that could be available. So
On a
at least it'd be
tenant-by-tenant
something
basis.
worthy of discussing, at that future, property management on tenant screening, whether that would be an option for folks.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I don't have any more questions.
All right.
All set, Commission? Thank you for great work.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for, I would like to just thank our partners for being here with us this evening.
Yes, thanks again. Anything else, Manager Hankins, at this point?
No, Mayor.
All right. So the meaty portion of our work session is over here. Now is an opportunity for commissioner comments. Just a reminder for anybody who's watching, there's an opportunity for commissioner comments as well at our 7 o'clock meeting. Mr. Bogan, if you have a moment, I just wanted to catch you real quick, unless you got something to go to after this meeting. Thank you. Any commissioner comments? Yes, Commissioner Hoffman.
I just want to piggyback, and I hate saying that. I can't stand when we say piggyback off of somebody else's stuff. But it really reminded me, we have a wonderful CRB board, a civil rights board, and one of the protections that we have in that is source of income use. And so I'm hoping that we as a city will lean into that, Mr. Bogan, as we're doing this. So vouchers is something that's covered under our ordinance 18A and 18. So just want to put that out there in the universe.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Other comments? All right, thank you so much, everyone. Our Committee of the Whole meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody at 7.